guys, this is Danny B. You're watching the Trash Dash, and in this video I'm going to be ranking the Hellraiser franchise. Last year I ranked all the Hellraiser movies, but they just came out with a new one, so I thought I'd do a re-ranking. Plus, my opinions changed. You know, I've rewatched a bunch of these, and my opinions on which one is my favorite and all that kind of changed over the last year. I have probably a pretty different list than most people when it comes to the Hellraiser movies. I like certain ones that a lot of people don't like and everything. But this is all just my opinion, so keep that in mind. Don't, like, you know, fucking have a heart attack over me liking one movie more than the other. Alright, coming up at number 11 is going to be Hellraiser Revelations. This is universally kind of the least liked Hellraiser movie. And I think it's just because of the guy that plays Pinhead. You know, the guy that they got to play Pinhead is kind of a cheeseball. He just looks goofy as Pinhead. But, you know, I'll say that this movie is really not as bad as people make it out to be. Like, it actually did try a little bit more than some of the other Hellraiser movies to capture the feel of the original movie. And going into this one, you know, someone told me it's a found footage movie. So I thought the whole thing was going to be found footage, which I was actually looking forward to that. I thought that would have been awesome. It's not a great movie, but it's got its moments. And something I do like about it is it kind of expands on the story of the homeless guy. Like, there's always a homeless guy in the Hellraiser movies, and it kind of expands on his character a little bit. All right, coming up at number 10 is going to be Hellraiser 2. And this is a lot of people's favorite Hellraiser movie. I don't know what it is. I just can't get into this one. Probably the main issue I have with this one is it just kind of feels like... The first one feels like very adult, like you're watching an X-rated movie. This one kind of feels like it was trying to appeal to kids a little bit more with, like, the whole Christy saving the little girl and everything. I was just like, oh my god, this is like... I don't know. I couldn't get into this one so much. I don't hate it or anything. I still think a lot of it is really cool. I like the Dr. Cenobite, and that this guy is just like a creep. He knows what's going on with the Lamont configuration. He's like collecting them and stuff because his mental patients are always talking about it. Tried to watch it about 2 or 3 times, and I don't know. I just can't get into it so much. But yeah, I see why people like it. All right, coming up at number 9 is going to be Hellraiser 2022. And this is the brand new one that's on Hulu, you know, Huluraiser. This one, you know, I wasn't so into. A lot of people are saying, like, this is the second best Hellraiser and stuff. I don't know. To me, it was kind of like a take it or leave it kind of movie. I was looking forward to this one. Really, the main issue I have with it is the 2-hour time length. If they shortened this to like 1 hour and 20 minutes, I probably would have liked it at least like 5 times more than I liked it. And then the other issue I have with it is I just didn't care so much about the characters. The only character I really even gave any kind of shit about was Riley's character. But then they didn't develop her character very much. Like, they spent time filling in the blanks, like having their roommates killed by the Cenobites and stuff. And I was like, eh. You would think, like, you know, in the 2-hour time frame, they could have developed her character a lot more than they did. When it started out and, like, saw her, you know, that she was a drug addict and then she was like a sex addict, I was just kind of like, all right, this is cool. Let me see where this goes. But then they just kind of had it turn into like almost like a Resident Evil kind of thing where the Cenobites are running around like Resident Evil characters in this mansion. I was just like, eh. So after about 1 hour of that, I was getting a little bit bored. And then to see that there was still 1 hour left, I was just like, oh my god. I did like the voice of Pinhead. You know, I thought Jamie Clayton was okay as Pinhead. Better than the Revelations guy. Not as good as the Judgement guy. But, you know, I really don't watch these movies for Pinhead anyways. I actually like how the franchise, the Hellraiser franchise, really explores the human characters way better than, like, you know, Friday the 13th or anything like that. So when this one didn't deliver that so much, that's kind of why it's lower on my list. Alright, coming up at number 8 is Hellraiser Inferno. And this was the first one to kind of do the Angel Heart thing. If you've ever seen the movie Angel Heart, this is much more like an Angel Heart movie than a Hellraiser movie, let's say. And this is where they kind of follow around a character as he kind of descends into madness. And there's 3 Hellraiser movies in a row that kind of do this, that are more like Angel Heart sequels than Hellraiser sequels. But I really kind of like when they do this. This is more interesting to me than some of the other stuff they do. Like, to me, this kind of story is more interesting than part 2, where it's, you know, Christy going into hell to save her father. You know, the Dream Warriors kind of thing. It's an okay one, so That's Hellraiser 5, Inferno at number 8. Alright, coming up at number 7 is going to be Hellraiser Judgement. This one is really kind of cool. This has a lot of like really cool hell imagery. It almost looks like a 9 Inch Nails video or something. This one introduces a new character. I think it's the Auditor. Kind of like a creepy Cenobite with like, you know, like round shockwave glasses. He looks like a shockwave zombie. I really like the depictions of hell. You got all the naked girls with gas masks and they're licking up the barf and everything. A really gross kind of movie. And then you got a cameo from John Gulager's son. He doesn't even have any makeup. He just comes in as himself and he starts eating paper, like washing it down with like a bottle of children's tears. He's a super creepy dude in this. I didn't like his character when I first saw this, but rewatching I was like, all right, this is kind of hilarious. And then Pinhead is actually kind of cool in this. I actually like this guy playing Pinhead better than Jamie Clayton. It's also got a lot of detective story going on in it. I don't remember too much about that. I got to rewatch it because I forget what the human story is. But the depictions of hell in this are so cool that's what I rewatch it for. But it still is one of my least favorite ones. I don't watch it that much, but when I do, it's because of like how cool the hell scenes are. All right, coming up at number 6 is going to be Hellraiser Bloodline. This is part 4. This is where it takes place in space, but it's kind of the backstory of who created the box. And then Pinhead is in space and he wants to take over Earth. And I believe this was directed by Kevin Yeager, the special effects artist who did like, you know, The Crypt Keeper and Chucky and all that. And then it's also co-directed by, what's his name? Joe Chappelle, who directed Halloween 5. So not Halloween 5, Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. So it's got a lot of that same kind of blue cinematography, really cool Cenobites. I really like, I think her name is Angelique, the female Cenobite. Her character is awesome. Like the security guard Cenobites. When I first saw this one, I didn't like the scenes of France, like the backstory of France. But now this time I actually kind of liked it. It's kind of like very Hammer-esque. And I haven't watched this one in a while, but I just remember Pinhead being almost like Adolf Hitler in this, where he wants to dominate the Earth. And then his plan backfires and he goes, "Nah!" I got to give this one a rewatch. But last time I rewatched it, I did have a blast watching it. It's just so much fun. It's got a lot of humor in it, a lot of goofy shit. All right, coming up at number 5 is going to be Hellworld. Hellraiser Part 8, I believe. Hellworld. Evil Goes Online. This one is super cheesy, and I love it for that reason. This is where kids... It's almost like a meta movie where kids are playing a Hellraiser video game. They're wearing pictures of Doug Bradley as Pinhead on their t-shirts and stuff. And this is supposed to be a real demon that exists. Or, you know, a Cenobite. So it's like, how the fuck did they get a picture of this guy? So yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's so cheesy that it's hilarious. You got Pinhead with a fucking butcher's knife or a hatchet slicing people up. You got Lance Hendrickson doing Doug Bradley's job. What's weird is there's a Pumpkinhead movie, Pumpkinhead Part 4, where Doug Bradley has more screen time in that than Lance Hendrickson. And then this one, Lance Hendrickson has more screen time than Doug Bradley. And I think this was the same year as that. So what the fuck? Did they trade movies? What happened? Lance Hendrickson is pretty cool in this. He's very villainous. He almost has like some Saw-like torture device traps. This came out, you know, when Saw was huge. So you got this girl like sitting in this chair and getting a fucking trap set on her. And also a room full of fetuses in jars, jarred fetuses, pickled fetuses. A lot of cheesy characters. Like they're coming to this party, they're going like, wow, it's like a Hellraiser museum. So, I mean, if you're a diehard Hellraiser fan, you probably hate this one. But I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's super cheesy and hilarious. So, all right, coming up at number 4 is going to be Hellseeker. And I see a lot of people put this one dead last as their, their least favorite Hellraiser movie. They even put it below Revelations. I think it's pretty cool. I mean, this is also another one that's much more like an Angel Heart sequel than a Hellraiser movie. But I like it. I think it's very moody with the green lighting. And you got, what's his name? Who played Ryan O'Reilly in Oz. He's the lead actor. I like that guy. Dean Winters. You also got Christy back in this. I guess people don't like what they did with Christy's character in this. I didn't mind it. It was just cool to see her back. And this one kind of, for me, has a very Tales from the Crypt kind of vibe. Like, this could have been a Tales from the Crypt episode with like a Hellraiser theme in it. And another huge complaint I hear a lot is that, you know, Pinhead isn't in it that much. I mean, these people kill me. They complain about part 3 having too much Pinhead, trying to make him into like a Freddy Krueger character, and then say this one doesn't have him enough. So what the fuck you want? Yeah, I get this one's not for everyone. It does have like a lot of dream sequences and stuff. But for me, I think it's kind of cool. I think it's like someone trapped in purgatory. All right, coming up at number 3 is going to be Hellraiser Part 3. And this was my favorite one for a long time. It just kind of got bumped down to number 3 by 2 other ones. And this one is super cheesy, but it's a lot of fun. And I love the Cenobites in this. This one, I think they're trying to really appeal to the MTV audience. So all the Cenobites are kind of like technology, MTV related. Like, you got a DJ Cenobite spitting CDs out of his mouth. You got a video camera Cenobite doing, you know, the music videos. I guess he's a newsman in this, but he's got like a camera for an eye. And one has like stereo speakers for nipples or some shit. The lead actors in this are kind of boring, but they're still interesting enough for me to make it number 3. The guy's kind of just this like piece of shit art collector, club owner. I crack up at the scene where he's like fucking the chick and he's smoking the cigarette while he's like squeezing her tits. In the first half of this movie, Pinhead's trapped in this like art thing. You know, the first time I ever saw this was at a Halloween party with the volume turned off. I was fucking dying laughing because I thought he was like a refrigerator. Like, I thought his head was coming out of a fucking refrigerator and he was frozen. That's why he was blue. But no, really cool effects. And then so you got head explosions, you got people's skin being ripped off. The lead actor dude gets a big nail through the head. It's pretty awesome. This one to me has the most kind of like full moon pictures type of vibe. Even though this is not a full moon movie, it still feels like it. All right, coming up at number 2 is going to be the original Hellraiser. And this one was a little bit lower on my list last time, but just rewatching it, I was like, man, this movie really is kind of a masterpiece. Very cool dark vision from Clive Barker. Very original story. And I think Beetlejuice might have ripped this movie off, because this feels like an R-rated version of Beetlejuice. Very gory, very cool gore effects. And this one really explores, like, you know, the human characters of the whole family, basically. And what I like about this franchise is it's very adult. You know, the whole thing is set around the cheating wife and the brother backstabbing his own brother. Even in the afterlife, he still comes back to backstab him. You got greed, you got lust, you got violence, and then Christy is an awesome character. I love her. Also, what the fuck is with the homeless dude in this movie eating the crickets? Why does he do that? So that's number 2, Hellraiser. Alright, and then coming up at number 1 is going to be Hellraiser Deader. And I know a lot of people hate this movie. I really like it. This is my favorite one. I just really like the vibe of this one. And then, like I said, the Angel Heart kind of storylines are more interesting to me than a lot of the other Hellraiser stuff. And to me, this is the best one of the 3. And Carrie Ward does such an amazing job in this movie. She really carries this movie. And I love the whole look of it. It's a very kind of trashy Hellraiser movie, even for the Hellraiser movies. And this one also has the whole suicide cult, which I think is a really cool concept. And she's a journalist. She's trying to figure out what's going on with that. And it turns out, you know, they're doing something on the side with the box that Pinhead doesn't know about. And then you got flashbacks to her childhood and like her traumatic experiences coming back to haunt her. Now, to me, this one provokes more thought than the original. Like, the original is kind of all laid out, like it's all there. This one kind of has some mystery to it. Starts off with her in a crack den and she's writing a story for her newspaper. Then later on, you get these kind of flashbacks of her traumatic childhood. And it makes me kind of wonder, like, is she doing drugs? And then this is kind of just like a metaphor for what she's really going through in the real world. Like, you got all these trippy scenes of her on a train with all these dead people that are living it up, partying and stuff. A very kind of psychological movie. The first time I watched it, I took it at kind of face value. I was just like, oh, this is a bunch of random shit. But then rewatching it the second time, I was just like, maybe this actually means something. And people like to point out all the time that part 5, 6, and 7 were not written as Hellraiser movies. And part 8 also, I guess. I don't care as long as it's a good movie. I mean, what would you say if, you know, Friday the 13th Part 8 was written as a Halloween movie first, and they just put Jason instead of Michael Myers? What would you think? Would you think like, oh, this was not written as a Friday the 13th? I know the first one has a lot more credibility, like even the writer directed the movie himself and everything. This has nothing to do with him, but I do think this is actually a very good movie. And coincidentally, it actually reminds me a lot of Clive Barker's Midnight Meat Train. But yeah, that one's just my personal favorite. So that's number 1, Hellraiser Deader. Alright, you guys, it's Danny B. You're watching the Trash Dash. Let me know what you think of the Hellraiser movies. Let me know your favorite ones. Let me know how you rank these movies. Hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.